And she didn't participate in anything. She, when it did come. Participate.
Why I ran.
Not bad.
I couldn't take another 2 years of that.
But see,
You know what we're gonna do though?
Jeez.
Did you?
Worked with some of the supervisors.
Looks at even state facts.
They only recruit. Still cleaning up
All
that.
right, we all settled down. I'd like to get the tourism committee up and running.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we need a motion to accept the minutes of September 26th Tourism Department.
I'll do that.
Mr. Dickinson, Ms. Runyon, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I just have one comment. Sorry, I'm all disheveled here. I suppose all ready to go. I just have one comment before we move it on. I'm just. Oh, it's trying to get the minutes I had. Previous meeting, that previous meeting.
Get the mics turned up there.
I'm sorry, what's that?
We have the mics turned up on the.
I don't know, can you hear me?
The
Hello?
chairman's been hard to hear back here.
Okay, all right, I just have a comment on the minutes. I don't know how many you have it in front of you, and I just want to just make some comments. The last meeting, Supervisor Seaver had mentioned that she'd like to see us go out for an RFP on a new company to do our programming and do our advertising. And I just felt that if some people that make comments look into situations of what they're commenting about, which I have no problem people commenting, but this company, Ad Workshop, has, and I just read it off at the OCTAX meeting, been working for us for 3 years, and in the last 3 years, we've just keep up, moving up on occupancy tax. So I believe they are doing a good job for us and getting promotion out. And, to say, just go out and let's get a new company, it just bothers me. The second thing I have to say is, I'm a little disappointed in Gina Mintzer. Her comment was that Lake Placid is our biggest competition, and that Ad Workshop is up in Lake Placid, and she worries about them advertising for us. Well, Ad Workshop I spoke to, they called me actually because they watched a YouTube video. They haven't did any advertising for Lake Placid in 6 years. So if people would, look into what they're talking about before they make comments, it makes it a lot easier for all of us, because I use the old theory about a court and these attorneys, when an attorney complains about something to the judge and the judge says to the jury, don't listen to that comment, let's move on. It's up here all the time. And I just feel sometimes we get off on the wrong direction on that stuff. All right, that's all the comment I gotta make. So we'll go to the action agenda. You want to take care of all that stuff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to the Ad Workshop contract renewal, the current agreement is maybe extended for one additional 1-year terms. We're in that portion of the contract now where we're coming before you each year to extend. My recommendation is on this action item is that, just coming into the organization, just coming into working with Ad Workshop, I have had the chance to meet with them and review what they're doing for us. But based on what we're asking them in terms of key performance indicators and what we're able to measure with them currently, that we would extend their agreement for one additional year. They are delivering what we've asked them to deliver. in terms of those key performance indicators, with the idea that with my budget, that we're allowed to put some more data and analytics in place to more closely measure their effectiveness, and give them this year really to be able to do that. To be able to for us to set those new metrics on who's seeing our advertising, where it's being seen, and how much money is being spent by those people once they come into our destination. So that would be my recommendation, is that we do approve them for one additional year with the ability to put that data and analytics in place to fully add additional KPIs to measure their effectiveness.
Right, any questions on what Mr. Snow just said, or I'll move for a motion to give him one more year, Mr. Dickinson? Brow? You raising your hand to comment, or? Yes, okay.
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Chairman. So I do have concerns about the contract. I understand that you want to get on board or understand their performance a little bit better, I think is what you're saying, Mr. Snow, and the analytics, more detailed analytics, I think will be helpful. And I know that we did, it says here that we bid it out in 2020, but I would like to understand or ask whether or not we're going to rebid this during 2023.
This is what it is for. It's rebid in 2023.
I know, Mr. Chairman. However, every year at this time, we get to the point where we haven't put it out for bid and there's no time left to rebid and reevaluate because we need someone out there to provide these services for us. And we can't just cut it off in the middle of the performance year. I just would like to see us plan for that now, that we start doing that process in early 2023 so that we can make a decision sometime next year. And if it's go with that workshop, because they're providing the great service that we are hoping that they are, that's great. If they're not, let's plan ahead and
Chairman,
get that going.
Yes, sir.
if I mean, and I may be wrong because I didn't fully prep on this issue in as much detail, but the contract was awarded in 2020. So this is going to be our third extension. We have 21, 22, and then 2023 would be the last. So there is no alternative other than going back through an RFP at the end of this next term, because that would have been, if I'm calculating correct, and I apologize if I'm off on years, but it was originally for 1 year with the ability to do additional renewals.
It was 3-year extension, and this is the third one.
So it's gonna have to get rebid in 2023. If that's correct.
I
Go to 24, right?
No, you'd have one more here.
We have one more.
The first year was January 1st, 2021 through December. That was the first year. Then 3 years after that would be 22, 23, and 24.
So we did it for a total of 4 years when they did it, not 3.
The RFP, right, was.
Well, we could look into it early next year. We'll see how the analytics come in there. Follow up from 2022. We'll see, we'll work on something earlier, but we did, yeah, they might even have another, we can make an option for that next year too. All right, any other questions? Yes.
There's two other things I want to state. One is if, I appreciate that they watched the last meeting. I think there were some other concerns raised, and I'm a little concerned again that they're not here, either here in person or here on Zoom, knowing that we were going to have questions about their contract. That's one thing. And maybe they were willing to come. I don't know. The other is that yes, our occupancy tax dollars are increasing, which is great. And maybe I'm jumping the gun on this, but it seems like could be a lot due to the rate being charged rather than actual room demand. So if that's the case, then we're not getting out there as much as we should be. Or to my colleague from Bolton who made the comment about, well, maybe we don't want the county to be overrun with tourists. I don't know what we're doing.
Rates are down.
Huh?
Room rates are down.
Room rates are down this year a little bit from other years, but
Not
it's a valid point. Something now, look into it with technology and figure it out. You want-
Yeah, and the group from Ad Workshop is viewing, they're just not on the ability to comment. However, if there's a way to get them in, I'm sure they're willing to answer any questions
I think they're viewing.
that you may
this right
have.
now.
Yeah,
We're not
they're
working.
viewing, they're online.
You know, I don't know. Well, whatever. If you want to hear from them, we'll take a minute and get in touch with them. I'm pretty sure they're on, but we're not, using Zoom as they can't really. Yeah, live stream, so we're not on, but we'll have them here next month if you really want to, have them talk to them. I think,
Yeah, they were willing to be here.
right.
And then they did mention that if they needed to get in through Zoom, that they were willing to do that. If there were questions that they definitely needed to answer, in person for them.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Move forward.
Aye.
Aye.
Move on to the second point of this.
Sure, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of where we stand right now and currently, and just to touch a little bit on what Gene said in the Occupancy Tax Committee. There has been a regular increase in occupancy tax that has been collected. I did want to note in terms of the tourism department and tourism department budget, there has been a number of years since that budget has changed or increased. So again, my recommendation is working in some ways to potentially some of that occupancy tax coming in being allocated on a yearly basis towards the department and being able to grow the department and some of the things we do. So one really quick statement. Really what I provided today is where we really stand with hotel demand. One of the things that Dina, I know that we have talked about, as well as members of the business community, is a little bit of lessening of demand into the particularly July, August, and September timeframe this year. That is concerning. Average daily rate for our hotel properties did come down during that time period, and however, revenues continue to increase. Some of that really kind of hits home primarily in the economy, in the economic standpoint of things, where July in that time frame was when gas prices were the highest. People just were not traveling as far. And really kind of sticking close to home and not traveling nearly as much. I have another point on that. In that same time frame, however, the information I provided on the short-term rentals, short-term rental demand increased considerably that same July, August, September timeframe. Your short-term rental revenues continued to increase during that time frame, and your average daily rate for those properties increased considerably.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Sure.
Sure. Are these representative of the weeks, the red, green, purple, and blue?
They're years. So that's over time. How our hotel demand, our average daily rate, and the revenues over year over year.
Al, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, also,
That's
just going through this really quickly, your Smith Travel revenue. The bottom line on your chart, you look at the numbers across the bottom,
Okay.
they're the same. There would be 1, 2, page 3. And I think you can see it on the graph when you look at the revenues for both short-term and for the hotels. They're both the same. Graph shows 56,970,000 on hotel, short-term. So,
Sorry about that.
yeah, and then in addition to that, one of the things that always gets my attention is when I see a trend line on one page and not on another page. I'm wondering, well, why isn't it there? So if I look at the average daily rate for Smith Travel, that's down 7%. And another one that didn't have it, I think it was also the daily rate on the short-term rentals. Didn't have that graph, but they're up 10%. So short-term rentals are making a big difference, but all of a sudden I can't figure out what I'm looking at with these charts anymore now because of the data
All right.
that was
Right.
passed over from one to the next. So if you could update that for me,
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
Sorry about that. I apologize. And yeah, that.
Rookie mistake. We'll give you one, right?
Incorrect. But what I really wanted to touch on, particularly with this, is so tourism economics does economic studies around the tourism industry. And this is kind of a bellwether for moving through the rest of this year into next year. And their concern, as everybody is with a potential recession or a recession. Where tourism economics is really focused is that there will be, on the travel sector, there will be impacts to that recession. There will be impacts to travel, and where it probably impacts us the greatest, and we saw it June, July, and August with the hotels, is in the fact that it is going to curtail travel for lower and middle income families the most. Those are the ones that are going to be impacted the most with the economic setbacks. Whereas tourism economics is very bullish on the fact that those higher level travelers, those more affluent travelers, there will be little to no impact on their travel. So that trend also played out with the vacation rentals this end of this year, and the fact that ADR demand and revenues stayed strong and continued. So something that we will have to look at from a messaging standpoint is really kind of looking at whether it's more of a value messaging going out to those key factors, because we are more of a lower to middle income destination, as well as finding ways to sell that message that we do have some of those higher end, very higher rate opportunities for those families that can afford it. And that there's things for them to do while they're here. So it's going to require us to tweak our messaging in some of the areas that we do our advertising and to make sure that we're letting everybody know our core traveler is that we're more of a value destination, but then those higher end travelers that we do have the amenities and the properties to meet the needs of a higher end traveler as well.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Al, you mentioned about the change that what might be forthcoming due to a recession and the inflation. I don't think we have any data that says from past history what that means for us. But can you project, based on what they're saying and based on our mix of traveler, what we might be able to expect looking forward from OCTAX if there is such a recession in the middle of next year, as some are predicting? And just kind of give us a sense on what's happening. I desperately want to be able to look around that corner and say, what could be the worst case scenario? What could be a better case scenario? But I think it behooves us to make sure we think about this going forward. So if there's anything in that bag of tricks that you have from other organizations that can help us anticipate what might happen, I think it'd be very beneficial for us.
Yeah, and I would be glad to kind of follow up with my folks at Tourism Economics to see if they could do something that's a little bit more focused on our destination in general. You know, there are some trends that they're showing right now, just again, in the market in general, that I can gladly pass along on, you know, what people are thinking of as far as travel or even considering travel at this point. But something along those lines would have to be custom designed by Tourism Economics to reflect that our market in general. glad to follow up on that.
Thank you.
Just to your point with that, in 2008, when I started, there was the recession. So 2009 and 10, we started to see some lingering effects of that. Previous to that, there was a lot of hotel build out because the economy was really strong. And the way the octacs are collected, the tourism department and funding is like delayed a year. We were flush with cash while other departments were down. And then as the inventory started to go vacant, hotels started to close and consolidate those occupancy rates back up again. So, you know, they've been building out right now. I'd anticipate that if there is a recession, rooms will start to go vacant, hotels will kind of close, and then that'll consolidate the rates back up again. So I don't know enough about economics to dig into it, but there's certainly a good section of data there that mirrors what's happening right now that you could dig into with someone that knows much more than I do about the situation.
Thank you. All right, now you finish with.
Yeah, and other than that, I'm traveling to the New York State Tourism Industry Association this week. It'll be my first industry show representing the region, so we'll be there. Also, while in conjunction with that, one of the largest consumer travel trade events, the New York International Travel Show is going on, so I'm staying in New York City over the weekend. We'll have meetings and appointments with, they're expecting over 1,500 travel trade representatives. So that's your tour operators, your bus operators, your travel agents, as well as over 15,000 consumers. So looking forward to talking a little bit about the destination and getting a lot of feedback from the industry while I'm in New York over this week and this weekend. So.
And while you got that tour travel, could you kind of look at that and see what their projection is for this coming year? And I think it's picking up a little bit, but it's still not where it was four or 5 years ago.
Yeah, a motor coach is tough, but your tour operators are rebounding very well from 2020, and that's one of those value opportunities that the tour operators provide a little bit more of a value for value conscious travelers. The ability to, you know, whether it's jump on a bus or fly, drive, and kind of package some activities. So but I will be glad to talk to everybody that I have a chance to talk to down there and kind of get their feelings over what they're looking at the next year.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Snow? I will have a privilege to the floor. Public or the rest of us? With no hand, yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, that's what I was gonna ask for. Do I get a second? Mr. Stroud? All in favor?
I
Thank you for coming.